Tentacruel tanks the Leaf Blade, the opponent sends back out Runerigus, the aggressive pivot back into Malamar, and out comes Tentacruel. Tentacruel, one of the bulkiest mon in the format, but look at his HP stat getting shredded. The first foul play goes unshielded, Psywave's already got into the red, and Malamar is still not done. Welcome back to the channel. We are in the final few days of Season 22's Go Battle League, and this is probably going to be my final upload with my own battles of the season. At this point, I'm sure most trainers are in the Season 23 waiting room. And I'll be honest, next season looks fantastic. We've had a huge meta shake-up I didn't see coming. The biggest talking point is the huge buff for bug-type Pokemon. I can actually tell you all why bugs are getting buffed, and the reason for that would be Shadow Malamar. This Pokemon in the Ultra League is absolutely sickening. The damage output and the charge move spam is just unrelenting. So thankfully, Niantic/Scopely have buffed numerous counters. I mean, it isn't going to be the cheat code it is currently this season. My team building process, nice and simple. We've got double poison in the back to help cover Malamar's vulnerabilities to bugs and fairies. Shadow Drapion is going to be operating on the save switch, looking to bait out any potential ground types, helping Tentacruel sweep the back line. Some points to note about the team. My Malamar and Tentacruel are both one power up short of their full potentials. I don't have the XL Candy. And I'm not actually on an Acid Spray by choice, I just don't have many charge TMs. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we happen to catch a fairy type in the lead position, but this is not a fairy that Malamar needs to run scared of. The Psywave's hitting for super effective and going to tear through Weezing's HP. The opponent throws their first move as soon as they get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go some chip and dip, put this thing into Aqua Tail range and look to catch sludge number 2 onto the trusty save switch Drapion. We've now got Malamar with residual energy and at near full health, and we're going to look to bait out the opponent's best poison type counter. The opponent clearly has no answer whatsoever as they send out Dust Noir. Drapion going to fire off the Crunch. Crunch does some decent damage, and as they're a non-shadow, one Dynamic Punch will not remove Drapion from the field of play. Dynamic Punch gets Drapion low, but Drapion withstands the damage, fires off the Aqua Tail, and if the opponent give me Switch, I think this is already G to the G. Glaring Weezing's an absolute top tier pick in the Ultra League. But if you get aligned against the Poison Jabber, you're going to be extremely sad. Back out comes Weezing, Drapion able to fire off the Aqua Tail, forcing the first protection of the game, and here comes the big squid looking to absorb energy. The opponent banks some energy, send out Lapras, we're going to fire off the Acid Spray, forcing a 2-stage debuff on the opponent's attack, and we all know how this one's going to end. We're going to tank the Sparkle Aria, farm up to the double superpower, even if the opponent correctly shields the first, which will lower my attack by 1 stage. We're still technically going to be +1 as Acid Spray, put them at -2, the first superpower, forces the final Protect Shield, the second one, have no doubt, removes Lapras from the field of play, back out comes Weezing, we Psywave farm down and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow on Shadow Crime. Venusaur instantly retreats, not fancying that Psywave damage. The opponent save switch into Drapion, we fire off the superpower, obtaining ourselves an early shield advantage, and I enter the mirror. The opponent ends up farming up, throwing on CMP. My Drapion is a rank 1. I'll never win a CMP type in my life. It's kind of funny that I've actually got the hundo that I normally use, but that one is on Sludge Bomb. Of course, as Drapion's looking to bait out a ground type, I am opting for the Aqua Tail moveset with this team composition. It's kind of funny that I talk about my hundo with a Crunch Sludge Bomb moveset, as it looks like this is what our opponent's running as well. As if they had Aqua Tail, they'd probably be going for some Aqua Tail spam. You can throw the Crunch the first time, but fish for the debuff, but Aqua Tail is better DP overall. The opponent actually reveals they've got Sludge Bomb, removing my Drapion from the field of play, but this just allows Malamar to get the resisted Psywave farm down. The opponent sends back out Venusaur. Oh boy, trainer, you must be so weak. Foul play goes unshielded, and look at Venusaur getting melted. I want to go for the 1 shield, look for that Psywave farm down. What's in the back, trainer? Out comes Greninja. We're going to fire off the superpower, either knock out or guarantee the final Protect Shield. The opponent obliges, putting up that Protect Shield, and Big Squidward hits the field of play. Yet another game already looks signed, sealed and delivered with this heavily XL meta abuse team. I'm not even going to throw a charge move. I'm just going to try and poison jab farm all the way down. The opponent probably tried to make a catch. All I need to do is superpower this Greninja to the face, and that is what I intend to do. This still isn't Night Slash range. Night Slash gets me low. Venusaur gets the snipe. This just sets up a farm down for Malamar, leaving with the superpower. The opponent recognises the game's over and they concede the match. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Cradilly in the lead position. So I could throw 11 sideways, throw the superpower, and then dip into Drapion, but then I'm going to be stuck with a very annoying debuff. So instead, we're going to tank the first Rock Tomb before throwing the superpower. I don't want to debuff my own defense. I'm then going to farm up, throw this first superpower, and that wasn't a CMP tie, so I can throw back-to-back. The first one does monstrous damage, and the opponent now has a decision to make. Are they going to invest on Cradily? No, they're not, and I am spamming the switch, looking to save switch into Drapion. The Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death enters the arena, and it's going to be death by Aquatail spam. The first Aquatail forces the opponent's first protection. Unless they Brave Bird, anyone moves survivable. I instantly no shield. The opponent fire off the Flame Charge, vamping up their attack, but Drapion undeterred. 2 further Poison Stings and the next Aquatail for optimal fast move timing. This Aquatail lands. We survive the next Incinerate. We're able to reach Aquatail number 3, and this Aquatail is going to knock out or force the final Protect Shield of the game. We've now got a 2 to no shield advantage. I send out Big Squidward. The opponent could go for a boosted Brave Bird, which I will be respecting. The opponent full send that Hail Mary and then send out Ampharos. I'm going to farm up, try to make a catch onto Malamar. That catch was definitely not necessary, but catches do make for entertaining content. We send back out Tentacruel, 1 Poison Jab and the Scold. Scold will be moving Ampharos from the field of play. Talonflame doesn't have enough HP, and once again the opponent conceded the match. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Dusknoir in the lead position. The opponent says no thank you, save switch into Oison. I take the opportunity to bank a bucket of energy and hard punish him with Big Squidward. This is such a miserable matchup for the opponent. Look how little these brutal swings do. As I said in the intro, my Tentacruel are not even fully maxed out. It needs 1 more power up. It's not even got that good IVs, to be honest. It's a 6, 15, 15. So you could definitely get a more bulky variant of Tentacruel, but this more than performs its job. We tank multiple brutal swings, fire off the Skull. To my surprise, it looks like the opponent going to make a play at switch advantage, but despite being in the red, this still isn't brutal swing range. I don't even need switch either. The opponent actually aggressively sniped with Dusknoir, but they're down on Protect Shield and down on energy. Malamar re-enters the arena, gonna fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play has been reworked this season to do less damage, but when you're going to see it land, someone forgot to tell Malamar it's supposed to be a pretty mid move. We should at the Shadow Punch. I'm going to return fire with the Dark Pulse. I actually didn't expect it to do this much. If I did know it was going to do that much, I probably would have over-farmed. We're able to Psywave farm down. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. They send back out Oison just to feed Malamar free energy. Malamar Psywave farms down, and out comes Cobalion. This is what I love about Malamar. You can just chip and dip. We're going to fire off the Superpower. Superpower goes unshielded, and there's the catch right on cue onto the trusty Drapion. This is one of Drapion's worst matchups. With a huge health advantage and a shield advantage, the opponent recognise the game's over and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see Gliscopod in the lead position, thankfully still running Shadow Claw. I'm going to bank my energy and make the catch onto Drapion. I like what the opponent did there. They actually threw the Aqua Jet, recognising if I stayed in, I'd be forced to shield, and the opponent did cover for a catch. Drapion, an absolute pest, able to survive a back-to-back Aqua Jets. I overfarm, fire off the Crunch, goes unshielded. I attempt to throw the Aquatail, but you can see we're getting Spinning Ball of Death, flashing away and actually overtap. But to be honest, I don't mind this play, as it just sets up even more farm for Malamar. Malamar's energy is pretty universally useful, unless they've got something like a Pure Fairy. They send out Tinkaton, which is Steel and Fairy, meaning these superpowers do hit for neutral. We're going to fire off the first superpower, Tinkaton, insanely thick. The first one, it didn't do too much. I'm going to fire off one more and look to put them into Scold range. The second superpower certainly does that. We pivot into Tentacruel and out comes Golurk. My inability to bait out the ground type means my win con is essentially the opponent looking to shield flex. We full send the Scold. The opponent correctly shield it up. You've got me, trainer, and I will concede the match. GG's. Heading into the next battle. Despite Ultra League being my favourite format to play, one of the things I hate about Ultra League is this stupid dumbass Optimus Prime. This thing is so slow, so bulky. We go for some chip and dip. Arguably, I should have went for the superpower there, but I think if I debuff myself, the opponent would imagine I'd make a catch. I was hoping the opponent went for a Crunch. They actually full sent an Outrage. A Zygarde player with a brain. Who would have thought? We fire off the Crunch. The opponent stays in, likely throw the Bulldoze, looking to remove me from the field of play. They actually reveal their moveset is Crunch and Outrage, meaning we're able to survive the Crunch, get off the Aquatail, and Drapion does force alignment. The opponent sends out Feraligatr. Feraligatr used to be on like 99% of teams. It's not that popular anymore, as stuff like Blastoise and Lapras has rose in popularity, but Tentacruel is so dominant in this matchup. Some alligators do run Crunch that would hit for neutral. However, the non-Shadow Crunch are not that threatening. It looks like the opponent hasn't even got it either. Next season, most of us are glad to hear that Crunch is getting a nerf. It's going to have less chance to debuff opponents' defences. The opponent continued to stay in, revealing they must be weak to Tentacruel on the back. That Poison Jab will knock out Gator, so I'm just going to shield and see what's in the back. The opponent sends out Skeledirge, 2 Poison Jabs and the Scold, looking to force the first Protect Shield of the game. The opponent looks to call the bait, and that bait call is going to seal this opponent's fate. We pivot into Malamar. I attempt to Sidewave farm down unsuccessfully, but as the opponent's saving 2 shields for next season, I think that's a good idea. I'll save 1 as well, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see the Panda Bear in the lead position. I'm going to farm up some energy and look to catch a charge move onto Drapion. The opponent has the energy for the close combat, but might consider Night Slash bait in. They do go for that Night Slash bait and then send out Ceruledge. I don't often bait, but this thing's bloody glassy, man. We go for the Aqua Tail bait, which forces the first Protect Shield. Can they knock out of a Flame Charge? No, they cannot. And as we baited, we're able to throw 1 Poison Sting and the Aqua Tail, getting this move off before the Incinerate registers, putting them into the red health range. If I would have thrown the correct 7 Poison Stings instead of 6, I would have actually got the Crunch off there. But it is what it is. We send back out Malamar, throw the Foul Play. Foul Play removes them from the field of play. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent sends out Gliscopod. We're going to farm up, try to make another catch. The opponent not falling for any of my shenanigans this time and send back up the Panda Bear. But this is not where the Panda Bear wants to be. This is such a god-awful matchup for them. We've got Acid Spray. I'm going to be degenerate. Go straight for the Acid Spray. Harshly lowering their defense, meaning we should be able to Poison Jab farm down before the next Night Slash is reached. 1, 2, 3, 4. We get the perfect farm down. We've got 2 shields. The opponent doesn't want that smoke, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see a cool flex from the opponent. Arbon Mewtwo, I think, has only been released once. I don't have one, and I know a lot of trainers don't either. This is not a great matchup for them. Dynamic Punch will hit for neutral, but non-stab isn't going to be all that threatening. The opponent continued to stay in, so I'm going to take the initiative, fire off the Foul Play. This thing's extremely bulky, but you can see 2 Foul Plays do actually knock out. The opponent tried to catch a Foul Play onto Cobalion. Not today, trainer. We're going to fire off the Superpower. Superpower forces the Protect Shield, and I send out the Squid. As Yasa would say, this is such a scuffed matchup. Steel, double resist poison. So they are double resisting my Poison Jab. However, we resist their double kick, and they're forced to go for non-stab Stone Edges. We're going to fire off the Scold. Scold isn't lethal, but the second will certainly get the job done. This essentially is a very boring matchup. Hence you can see me turn my volume up, get them tunes pumping, and try and get myself through this battle. The opponent snipes with Mewtwo. This just sets up an opportunity for me to shield once and fully Poison Sting farm down this Mewtwo, getting Drapion with all the energy in the world. This play puts the opponent in such an awkward spot. Cobalion dumped this energy. So if they return, it's going to be death by Aqua Tail. The opponent actually reveals Giratina in the back, so Drapion core breaking this opponent. The ABA weak, and at this point they're 1 counters, too low and dry on energy. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw. Drapion simply don't care. The pivot into Cobalion, 1 Poison Sting and the Aqua Tail. Drapion gonna force the Protect Shield, but don't worry trainer, there's oh so much more where that came from. 1 further Poison Sting and the next Aqua Tail. Down goes Cobalion, and Giratina once again concedes the match. Heading into the next battle, we see the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death in the lead position. Once again, you can see Psywave just shredding through their HP. I'm going to farm up, fire off the Foul Play, and as I'm on an ABB team, I'm going to save switch into Drapion and just say enjoy yourself trainer. Brave Bird, whatever you want to do, I don't really care. The opponent actually then send out Shadow Raikou. That is an insane pick, and I'm so jealous of this bloody thing. Thankfully, we can now remote raid Shadows. When this thing returns, I'm going to do numerous raids. It's one of my most desired Shadow Pokemon I don't have. The opponent fire off the Wild Charge, remove me from the field of play. I'm just going to send out Malamar. We're able to Psywave farm down before the next one's reached. Back out comes Talonflame. Once again, we're going to overfarm, fire off the Foul Play. We've seen they've got Flame Charge, so we're in Flame Charge range. So I'm going to take the opportunity to look to catch that resisted move onto the Squid. The opponent this time actually fire off the Fly, but Tentacruel still withstands that damage. Tentacruel is just a bulky monster. Out comes Shadow Electivire. Despite this being a type advantage matchup for them, I'm a degenerate with Acid Spray, not through choice, just through lack of TMs. And this game's over. I'm just going to save all my shields for Malamar and just Psywave farm down everything. I've personally had a lot of fun running Electivire recently, but sometimes the lack of bulk really does come back to bite you in the arse. We Psywave farm down Electivire, and once again, another opponent top left, heading into the next battle. We see Virizion in the lead position, another matchup where the Psywave damage is just disgusting, but to do any meaningful damage I would have to lower my own attack and defense and land the superpower. I tried to catch a Leaf Blade onto Drapion. Once again my catch attempt unsuccessful, the opponent showed great composure. However, they then throw an alignment, giving me a free Poison Sting. I'm going to throw one Poison Sting and the Crunch for optimal fast move timing. So if you're Drapion here, 1, 4 or 7. If you're Virizion, just an odd number. Drapion once again just on the team to absorb some hits. We actually put this Virizion in a range where I can just Psywave farm them all the way down before they even reach another charge move. That is of course unless they pivot out. Malamar hits the field of play, gets that Psywave farm down. Let's see if the opponent's got anything that can tank this energy off Malamar. Out comes Talonflames. The answer to that question is revealed to be no. The first foul play does big damage, the second one will come quite close to knocking out. Again, we're going to bank the remainder of this energy and catch onto the big squid. As my Malamar had already taken some damage, this is highly unlikely to be a Brave Bird, as that would be overkill. The opponent actually fire off the Flame Charge, but then stay in, looking to get off the boosted fly. Tentacruel would survive this move, but I've got 2 shields, I may as well start using them here. The opponent then sends out Gator. Acid Spray, Scald. It's kind of the same job. One Scald won't be lethal, so I do throw the Acid Spray first, putting them very close to Scald range. The opponent fire off the Hydro Cannon, we withstand the damage. I'm going to fire off this Scald. If Scald isn't lethal, I'm just going to look to snipe with Malamar, and you've guessed it, look to Psywave farm down the remainder of the team. The opponent sends back out Talonflame, run for the hills, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see one of my favourite Pokemon, the very terrifying Shadow Typhlosion. Thankfully, the opponent just settles for a Thunder Punch, but Shadow and Shadow Crime, that actually still does a lot of damage. The opponent then send out Sylveon, looking for a snipe, and they are immediately hard punished. When I played this battle, I thought, let's go, we're about to have a fun team, or a fun battle I should say. And then they send out this tap nonsense Charmer. I'm going to go for the 1 shield, full Poison Jab farm down, leaving it 100 energy. I can't really complain about nonsense teams. Tentacruel, is it an RPS pick? Sort of. However, it's not a Charmer. They send out Golurk, we fire off the first Scald, guaranteeing the shield, all big damage, 1 further Poison Jab, and the next Scald. I'm then just going to snipe, getting off this foul play, putting them into Aquatail range for later. Foul play, goes unshielded. It's actually a purified Golurk as well. Back out comes Typhlosion. And here you're going to see me overthink the battle, go for an undercharge. The reason for that is I can send out Tentacruel now, force the energy, and then I'm just going to look to Poison Sting farm down and have that Aquatail / Crunch ready for Golurk. To be honest, we're in the end of the season. I think it's good to try and practice game mechanics. The undercharge was an absolute perfect one. We get the perfect Sting down, Golurk re-enters the arena, and another opponent concedes the match. GG's. I really think we need to rework this XL system. You can see this heavily XL team has opponents top, left in, left, right and centre, and that was the battle that clutched up. I think I played like 8 or 9 sets, gaining around 500 elo. My elo was pretty piss poor for me, and brutally honest, I dropped 500 elo for Calamonto's Battle of Spice competition. We've gained that back in just like 8 sets with numerous 5-0s. Heading into the next battle, we see Runerigus in the lead position. The opponent Rock Tomb baits me, forcing a debuff on my attack. You can see the Psywaves and that foul play combination still put them into the red. This is unlikely to be a Shadow Ball. We try our luck making a catch. They go for yet another Rock Tomb. We catch it on Drapion and out comes Virizion. So with no Sludge Bomb, this matchup is essentially the same as the Shadow Drapion into a Zoom Run in the Great League. Your Poison Stings hit for super effective, but they fully wall your energy. You can see debuff, these crunches are literally doing absolutely nothing. But it kind of is what it is. We need Aquatail, as it is a ground bait out on this team. Despite being debuffed and only throwing resisted charge moves, we've put this Virizion in a range where we can fully Poison Jab farm down. Leaf Blade, one of the best moves in the game. 35 energy for 70 damage, but Tentacruel very bulky. The opponent sends back up Runerigus, we pivot into Malamar and out comes Tentacruel. Tentacruel, one of the bulkiest one in the format, but look at it getting shredded by Malamar. This is essentially unfair and I'm actually kind of feeling bad. The first foul play went unshielded, the second one forced the protection of the opponent, just about able to Poison Jab farm down. But they're that low that one Poison Jab will knock them out and they're only getting off one move. They throw the Scald, we tank the damage, Poison Jab farm down, and guess what? Another opponent top left. GG's. That's how bulky Tentacruel is. I couldn't even see their HP, but they actually survived that Poison Jab, and we got one more, which is neither here nor there. In the next battle, we see Virizion in the lead position. The last opponent didn't spam the move as soon as they got it, so I didn't go for the catch the first time. I do go for the catch the second time, The opponent clearly read it. They're anticipating that, and they blind switch into Giratina to answer my Drapion, which certainly has no response whatsoever. The Dragon Breath variant does alright, but on Shadow Claw this is miserable for them. I guess another way you can read this switch, the opponent tried to catch a superpower as I would need to superpower Virizion, but regardless, we come out very much on top. Here I'm going to farm up to the double crunch, so the opponent can't shield, because if they do, we'll just throw back-to-back winning CMP. Down goes Giratina. The opponent sends out Talonflame. I'm quite surprised to see I'm not looked to sponge energy on Virizion, but I'm not complaining. 2 Poison Stings and the first Aqua Tail, 2 further Poison Stings and the next Aqua Tail. Rather than concede a farm down, we're just going to send out the big squid, as it's good into the remainder of the team. I love to call baits, but I don't really think there's any point in looking to tank this move, and I'm glad I didn't. The opponent YOLO the Brave Bird, then send out Virizion. Degenerate Jamie Finn at your service. Acid Spray to the face. Virizion can throw whatever they like. We've seen Leaf Blade only does like 30%, despite it being a good move. The opponent can throw one more. Tentacruel says keep it coming, we'll tank these for days. They throw the second Leaf Blade. We're able to Poison Jab farm down, leaving 4 Poison Jabs off the Scald, which is perfect for me, as Scald is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Moltres in the lead position. If I was playing seriously and looking to rank up, I'd instantly go Drapion. However, I just built this thing and I want to see how much a superpower does, so we're going to stay in, go for some chip and dip, and then send out Drapion. That superpower was alright, to be fair. I did expect a little more with a shadow bonus, but it's still respectable. The opponent YOLO the Brave Bird onto my save switch Drapion and then send out Typhlosion. Even after Drapion tanking the Brave Bird to the face, we're still not going to Incinerate farm down before the second Aqua Tail is reached. This is why Drapion needs a nerf, man. This thing's just such an annoying Pokemon. The opponent does leave with the Blast Burn. However, Typhlosion users love the bait, and I'm feeling brave. We call the Thunder Punch. I'm going to attempt to Psywave farm down, unfortunately unable to do so. I was going to 2-shield Tentacruel. We've seen a few Giratina to thus point, so I'm going to bank this move in case they've got that. However, they give up switch, sending out Gliscopod, and this gives me an easy win con. This Gliscopod is switch locked. Throw the foul play, fully jab farm down, and get the double Scald ready for Moltres. My lose con is the opponent able to catch on the energy dry Typhlosion. So hopefully we're not going to be a potato and let the opponent make a catch. As everything's energy dry, I may as well shield this move up and keep some health. Then potentially, even if they catch, I've still got a chance to reach 3 Scalds. You can see I'm not even tapping. Let's see what the opponent does. I'm going to pause, wait for the Sucker Punch to start. The opponent actually tried to sack Typhlosion. We jab it down. We've got double Scald. The first one goes unshielded. The opponent obviously looked to call the bait, which was their win con, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow and Shadow Crime with Malamar into Gator. I switch a turn early there to get my Poison Sting through, meaning if the opponent stays in, we will outpace to back-to-back crunches. The opponent actually sends out Gastrodon, which is perfect for me as Tentacruel doesn't want to see it, but after tanking the Hydro Cannon, we're only going to get off one move. Potentially would have got off the Aqua Tail if we got damage registration error, but I personally think that's not as the game's intended to work. The fast move should register before my charge move, so I'm not complaining about that whatsoever. We correctly shot the Earth Power. The opponent then just settles for a Body Slam, and that works nicely for me as I don't think Foul Play is going to knock out, but we can now Psywave him into range where Foul Play gets that job done. The opponent's actually running double ground. In the moment I was thinking, how do I win this game? I'll be honest, I don't think I can. I'm going to YOLO the superpower, just see how much it does against Zygarde, and then concede the match. I move swiftly on. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see Big Man Blastoise in the lead position. This is definitely a matchup I'm going to look to switch out at some stage. We're going to throw the foul play. I think here I should just superpower and instantly go to Drapion. The opponent farms to the bash, and I'm thinking, who the heck's going to bash right off the bat? Well, the answer to that is this opponent. Ouch, I've took far too much damage. I am now going to superpower, anticipating superpower, even with a buffed up defense knocking out, actually isn't lethal. We save Malamar and do make that pivot into Drapion. Blastoise is so bulky, man. Even that Poison Sting isn't going to knock out. So the opponent smartly saves Blastoise as a sacrificial swap. The opponent then sends out Shadow Machamp. Shadow Machamp is a very cool pick, but very glassy. The opponent here actually allows me to reach the second Aqua Tail, which is going to force a Protect Shield, and I'm certainly not complaining. The opponent is going to have to throw, and they do that before the next Aqua Tail is reached. The opponent's very nicely overfarmed, recognising Malamar would find itself in cross chop range, so I send out Tentacruel. This could be a Stone Edge, which is going to hit hard Shadow and Shadow Crime. We correctly shield the Stone Edge. Can the opponent reach one more? They're actually one short. I know this can only be a cross chop, so an instant no shield from me. Stay in school, kids, and learn to count. I actually really love this team comp from the opponent. A really cool double Shadow Fighter strategy. The opponent tried to sack Blastoise, but of course I was never going to allow that to happen. Every time I wanted to throw, I'd pause, ensuring I saw the Karate Chop start. The opponent throw the Rage Fist. We're not shielding the first one, the subsequent ones after that will do more, but we're actually able to outpace to the double Skull, and I'm super sorry, Primate. You're my favourite Ultra League Pokemon, but today is not your day. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle is Gator in the lead position. So I think here I should throw 9 sideways and look to catch. We actually bank the move this time and then do make the catch onto Drapion, but the issue is the opponent can just stay in and throw back-to-back Hydro Cannons. What they actually do is bank a Hydro Cannon and make a Crunch catch. Nice play from them overall. I actually did spam my Crunch instantly because you can see my health. I would have survived that Hydro Cannon just about on fractional HP, so I wanted to get my move off. The opponent then enters the mirror. They catch the Crunch and it's going to be death by Aquatal. The opponent's actually running the non-Shadow Drapion. Whilst Drapion is an absolute menace, the Crunch objectively better than the regular variant. What the heck did I even just say? The Crunch is better than the regular variant. The Shadow is objectively better than the regular variant. Clearly, I need more sleep. It's quite interesting that a lot of opponents have now switched back to the Crunch Sludge Bomb moveset. As you can see, the opponent's throwing Crunch after Crunch. I attempt to Psywave farm down, unable to do so before another Crunch is reached, but a non-Shadow Crunch would objectively less than a Hydro Cannon. We tank the Crunch, a Psywave farm down, leaving a whole heap of energy. They've got a move bank, so I attempt to catch it onto Tentacruel. My catch attempt unsuccessful. The opponent's actually running Crunch, but you can see Crunch from the non-Shadow, not that threatening. We're just going to degen our way through this matchup, throw the Acid Spray and let them Poison Jabs chunk through their HP. Another reason that I've thrown the Acid Spray here is they temporarily sent out Wheezing. So the opponent might think I'm going to Acid Spray Wheezing when it returns. So I think this is a free opportunity to land the Scald. And if this Scald lands, despite the opponent having 2 shields, this game's over. Scald does go unshielded. You can see these Poison Jabs putting in monstrous work. So I'm just going to throw this Acid Spray. If they don't shield the Acid Spray, we Psywave farm down. If they do shield the Acid Spray, we double foul play for the dub. So essentially the opponent can pick their poison. They shield up the spray, quick switch back into Malamar. Malamar with 2 foul plays banked. The opponent tanks the first, they get knocked out, and we take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's Shoutcast. Despite me spending 650,000 Stardust to power up Malamar, I'm very grateful next season has some bug buffs, because I think it's quite unfair that not too many people have this Pokemon and it is ridiculously overpowered. I think Tentacruel is also a very good investment. Next season is going to be interesting, it's getting access to Poison Sting and the buff move of Acid. Acid apparently is going to be 4 EPT. If it is, Acid now becomes a very good quick move indeed. A clone of Powder Snow. So Tentacruel is going to be really flexible, so if you've got one, consider investing in it. I think it's going to be a very good pick. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you'd like your battles featured on my channel. A link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.